Hey everyone, Panyo here. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of After Dinner Mints. Before we begin, I want to encourage everyone watching to join us in the Art Blocks Discord. For those watching us on the joining us on the live stream, there will be people in the community chatting in the Art Blocks Mints channel. A link to the Discord can be found in the description of this video. And as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode of our weekly show. And now I want to introduce our guest for this evening. We have CCO of Artblocks and generative artist, Jeff Davis.
Hi, everybody.
And then we have entrepreneur, investor, host of two podcasts, Proof and Modern Finance, as well as an Artblocks collector. Well, please welcome Kevin Rose.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Panyo and Jeff. It's an honor to be with you on this show. It's gonna be fun.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Kevin. Well, I want to get straight to it. We have a lot of questions to cover. First off, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Can you tell us a little bit about your background as far as how you got into the crypto space?
Yeah. Gosh, I think that it was probably Twitter back in the day where I just heard someone mentioning Bitcoin and, immediately went and downloaded the software and just got a full node running on my machine back when you could download the entire blockchain, and just asked people to send me some Bitcoin to an address on Twitter, and I immediately lost the keys for it. And so there's still, I don't even want to talk about what's sitting there, but somewhere there's a wallet. As we all have that story, right? Everybody does. Definitely. That was really in crypto. So, got involved kicking the tires of that, and then saw immediately like all of the different other coins that were forks of that source code, and started investing in it professionally when I was at Google Ventures, and we kicked off some of the early crypto investing we did there back in probably 2011 or so, something like that, 2012, 2011, and just have been involved ever since. So now I'm at True Ventures, and we probably, I would say, investment wise, have done a couple $100 million into crypto related projects. It can be DeFi, it can be layer ones, it can be layer twos, a whole slew of different things. So yeah, I've been doing it for quite a while, and it's just been such a fun industry to track and watch evolve over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been, I feel like, a part of this space since at least when I joined back in, October of last year. Everyone was like, oh yeah, Kevin Rose, you definitely got to follow him. Well, what about, NFTs? You're really big on obviously NFTs, got in early, it looks like, to CryptoPunks. Can you tell us a little bit about your path and how you got into the NFT?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was definitely CryptoPunks. A friend of mine told me about the project when they were launching. I went in and minted 10 of them and then immediately forgot about it. Just like everything else, it's really, I think a lot of the investment game that we play is really just curiosity and playing with things early and trying a lot of different things. So for every one CryptoPunks, there's going to be 50 other things that we've tried and just forgotten about, that are just fun things as technologists that you play with very early on. And so for me, it was, trying that, thinking this is a kind of novel application of blockchain tech to collectibles, and then saying, I don't see any real traction here. It's still early days. I mean, people think it's hard to mint today. It was a lot harder to interact with smart contracts back then. So things have gotten a lot better, but that whole minting process is smoothed out quite a bit since the early days. But I would say that then again in kind of December of this last year, coming into January of this year, I was talking to I was actually doing a Clubhouse with Mike Shinoda, of all people, from Lincoln Park, and he was like, dude, have you checked out NFTs lately? And I was like, wait, what are NFTs again? Like, it just was kind of a reboot of like, do I still have that wallet address for those CryptoPunks? Just kind of thinking, and then realizing that things have come quite a way since I had last checked out this technology, and then really just seeing all of the hardcore that stuck with it and built the tooling and built up and continue to produce NFTs, and the fact that there was the ERC 721 standard that is created based off the CryptoPunks project, and just realizing, wow, there's real momentum here. There is the right people are involved, and the projects are becoming a lot more mature. And that's when I originally kind of got excited and said, okay, this is turning into something much bigger than I had originally thought. And that was kind of early this year.
Hmm. And then was there like an aha moment where you kind of realized that NFTs were here to stay? Was it, smart contracts? Maybe was it, more of the blockchain that kind of did it for you?
Yeah, I think it was a few things. One, there was two sides of it. I would say there's obviously the generative side with art blocks and seeing what was happening there, and just realizing that something that had been produced for so long could now finally be captured and cemented into the blockchain, and you could share those types of objects, which was really exciting when you kind of have that unlock. Because if you think about the history of generative art, and you all would be better positioned, and Jeff as well, to kind of school me on this area, but my experience with it was in San Francisco in the early 2000s, like going to little art installations, because I've always been interested in art. But you'd go in and you'd see these amazing generative projects, but there was like, you could buy like a computer running one of them, and it was a physical
Oh, wow.
piece. And it was then going to, you kind of like start the clock on how long until the resistors give out, or capacitors or whatever on this particular physical piece.
Yeah.
And then it's over with, right? And maybe you talk to the artist, you get it revamped, and you get it working again. But it was very difficult and not very portable. And so when I saw this being produced on the blockchain and captured on the blockchain, it was clear to me that there was a whole new vertical of art that was being unlocked, that was pretty exciting. So that was an unlock. And then honestly, going around and looking at the artists that were on Super Rare and that have been doing and producing this stuff for a few years now, and just seeing like real credible artists were coming, and new artists were coming, producing beautiful works of art. Like when I first saw my first X copies, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is new and unique and different, and moving and interactive, and some of the things that were done to allow you to burn and create new versions of a piece of art, and just new creative thinking, that was unlocking new possibilities. And that was very exciting. And I was like, this is here to stay. This is a forever thing. Everyone just doesn't know it yet. And so
Yeah.
that's when you want to jump in and go all in,
Definitely. And I feel like there's a lot of noise, especially nowadays in the NFT space. It's almost impossible to keep up with everything. How do you keep up with the constant movement taking place with NFTs? Like, do you follow specific builders, or do you have like a network of people that you kind of keep in tune with, as far as like the latest NFTs that are being dropped?
Yeah, I mean, it started off joining the CryptoPunks Discord back in the day, earlier this year, and that was still very small. It was like a 1,000, 2,000 people. It was like pretty small little group of people. It has since blown up quite a bit, right? But it was still manageable back then, and I was learning about new projects and things, and so it was a bit of crypto Twitter before crypto Twitter really became crypto Twitter, but as it was kind of making that transition. And then I realized, well, I had to follow a whole new group of people. So I actually went back at the beginning of this year and said, I need a Twitter reboot, because I've been, since Twitter first launched, I've had an account. So I went and unfollowed just a ton of people and said, okay, how am I going to reboot this and kind of reorganize my life? Because I was getting a lot of political news in my feed, and just stuff that I care about, but I also don't want to just like have Twitter be this like doom and gloom like feed of hate and anger. And so how can I recraft this feed to be a little bit more focused on just the art world? And that's kind of what I did when I refollowed a bunch of people, and then Twitter's really good at recommending other people. And so it just it kind of ballooned from there. And then also just understanding the importance of Discord, and spending time with communities and getting to know these new projects. And that's kind of what led me to start the podcast. I was like, okay, well, I need to start podcasts around specifically kind of purpose built for cryptocurrency and NFTs, so that I can talk to these people and have these real conversations, and I might as well record it and release it to the world. So,
Yeah.
having Tyler Hobbs back in the day, when Fidenzas were just dropping, and snow on early to talk about art blocks. Like that was really cool, but it was also very cool for me because I just got to pick their brain and understand what they're thinking about, who are the artists they care about. Who does Tyler Hobbs follow?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
who does he find interesting? And just um, that for me, it's a tool to generate my own alpha, but also hopefully bring it to a wider audience and break it down so it's almost like a Reddit explain it like I'm five type thing where I can just like help bring everyone along for the ride, because I think it's really important to this. I think of this as a very expansive pie that we should all be helping and lifting each other up, and trying to bring up and coming artists into the forefront, and trying to help people figure out MetaMask and all the things that we can do to hopefully grow this audience.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think, just to kind of add on to that, onboarding into NFTs, crypto is incredibly challenging. I feel like it's almost impossible to kind of navigate the space and also get your questions answered. Like, who are the people or the person that helped answer your questions as your curiosity grew in NFTs? I feel like there's always, one person or a group of people that kind of do that.
Yeah, well, big thanks to my friend Patrick Collins, who was actually went to second through sixth grade with me. That later I reconnected with later in life. That was like, dude, you need to check out CryptoPunks. So we found out that we were both geeky. There was a reason we were both friends in second through sixth grade, because we were both geeks. and then he became a technologist and I became a technologist. So we reconnected later, and he turned me on to that. But I would say honestly, it's a bit of asking and raising your hand when you don't know something, and it's a bit of also just willing to have throwaway money, meaning like take $100, and I mean this is when gas fees were reasonable, but like play and learn, and like don't be afraid to figure out how to convert your stuff over to Tezos and try out a new wallet and interact with it, something like Hin, like that's really obscure and weird and hard to figure out. And um, you know a lot of these things are confusing. Like, how do you move to Polygon and back and do all these and so I set aside a little budget to go out and always try and always play. And that applies to pretty much any new technology kind of vertical or something new that's appearing. It's like you always have to be willing to just dabble, and
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I've done throughout my career, and it's worked out pretty okay, in terms of like leading me into new projects that I wouldn't normally jump into without wanting to just play.
Definitely. Yeah. I think it's like you said, it's smart to, throw a little bit of money in there, maybe not, all your money in one pot, but kind of just like see what sticks. And then eventually, you're going to find something that really like hits and kind of speaks to you over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a friend of mine that I've been kind of coaching through a lot of this, and because he's getting new into NFTs, and he doesn't have a ton of capital to play with. And we were like, okay, what's the project you want to go after? If you've got a budget, don't throw all of your capital into one project, but let's find five that you maybe invest in over 6 months. And he got a Cool Cats, and he bought
Nice.
one of those early on. And then he ended up doing some design. He's a very good designer, so he designed and entered a Cool Cats competition and won a Cool Cats because of that.
That's good. There you go.
And then figured out, once I receive a little bit more, can I? And then now he's gone into projects and bought two, and then when one goes up and kind of like covers his initial costs, he gets out, and then he has a little more capital to play with. And so it's like growing that pie and expanding in a comfortable way that isn't betting your house on one NFT. So it's like that kind of land and expand mentality of slow growth that works for a lot of people.
Yeah, and you got to start somewhere. You can't just start and then start collecting maybe like Fidenzas or Ringers or anything. You got to start small, maybe, and also buy something that kind of speaks to you. And in tune with that, are you more into the aesthetics or rarity when it comes to collecting NFTs?
A lot of the art block stuff, do you look at, like, if you were to go to my gallery page and you see the stuff, you're like, oh, like he only collects expensive stuff, or a lot of that's expensive. But honestly, it wasn't when I bought it. like
Yeah,
like some of these ringers and stuff I bought for 1 ETH, less, and it's like this is because I was attracted to it aesthetically. The most important thing that I always have to check, the checkbox is most important to me, is is if this went to zero or next to zero, would I still want to hang it on my wall? And
Mhm.
if the answer is yes, then who cares? And it's like, and I've been lucky enough to have some. I think that I don't know what it is. It's definitely luck, but it's some of the tastes that I've had around some of these projects. And don't get me wrong, you could probably at this point put a blindfold on and throw a dart at art blocks wall and like hit something amazing. So maybe it's just because I happen to get in art blocks early, but it's like when I was buying subscapes or any of this stuff, or even some of Jeff's work, it's like early on, it's like we all remember just a few months ago these weren't that expensive. And I think that's still the case today. There's a lot of kind of diamonds in the rough out there, and as long as you go out, set yourself up with a budget, and it's like angel investing. When I have friends that are getting into angel investing for the first time, it's never about making that one angel investment. It's about taking your capital and dividing it by 10 and saying, can I go out and make 10? And hopefully one of them will have the outcome that you're looking for. So it's hard with NFTs, right? Because it's a bit of, I want to hang this on my wall a decade from now, but at the same time, people consider like they do trad art, like these are investments. So, it's a bit of that as well. And then just understanding when markets do take a dive, that if you do have the conviction around something, going in heavier. Then I mean, I remember when Meebits, they came out and all of a sudden everyone said, okay, we're going to flip ours because we got one for free if we owned a CryptoPunk, and the floor was sub 1 ETH. And people were like saying this project's over, but we haven't even entered into the metaverse yet with these things. Like I
Mhm.
think it's like not even first inning yet on in this world. So, that would have been a perfect time to go in and pick up a few me bits or one, you know. And now look what the floors are. They're, 4 or 5x above that. So, but all through the lens of, again, like, do you appreciate it? If you don't like the me bits art, or you don't vibe with the community, then that would not be the place to do that. But I don't know. Did I answer your question? Maybe we got off course there.
Yeah, no, no, you got it. So I want to talk a little bit about, obviously you can mint and you can mint on just like directly through art blocks or just on OpenSea or wherever. But I feel like just lately there's been a lot of these like IRL opportunities where you have an opportunity to mint something in person. Have you ever experienced any of these yet? Or
The only thing I've done is those in person kind of, you have to be here to get these little, what do they call them, like pops or pops or what
oh,
are they?
POAPs. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We have one for
POAPs. Yeah.
tonight actually. We need to send
Oh,
you
do we
one.
really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
I
have to
love
send you
that.
one.
Yeah, these little POAPs, people are going to be making fun of me in the chat room because I don't know that. But, there's so much stuff to track. So, I've done a few of those, but I would say that I haven't done any in person, but I love that Tyler's doing that with his next drop. And I'm bummed that I'm not going to be in New York. I'm going to be out there for NFT NYC, but I will not be there for the tail end of that, which is when the in-person stuff happens. But I love that. I mean, what a great way. And we saw this at the, Art Block's house in Marfa. What a fantastic way to bring people together and just have conversations in real life, which is like how a lot of this stuff should be experienced and will be experienced in the future. So I'm a big fan.
Do you think that you're going to see a lot more of these popping up in major cities throughout the country, or do you think they're just going to be pockets where it's like New York, LA, and some of those major cities?
I mean, certainly the big cities that already have a pretty substantial art scene will be big hubs for this type of activity. But I could see it. It's part of like the beautiful thing about the transferability of like NFTs is that you really don't have to. You can throw these anywhere. It's not like you're shipping physical art around the world to have
Yeah,
some type of
exactly. Yeah.
pop up or in person event, right? So there's something beautiful about thinking that someone like Jeff might hop into some city in Wisconsin. I'm just throwing this out there, Jeff. I have no clue if you do this, but like just like in some random barns, like, hey, meet me here, and let's do the live mint right here from my device, or you can fire it up pretty much anywhere. Like, how amazing is that? And it'll be applied to all different types of things. I mean, concerts and physical gatherings, as we know, will have these types of very unique collectibles that are associated with them,
Mhm.
and it'll be, yeah, I don't know how many concert tickets I probably lost from my youth that I would love to go back and revisit and look at and say it was so cool that I was there for this event. Those are going to be special moments that will be forever cemented and shareable with friends and family. And it'll be cool to look through my great grandkids will be able to look and be like, Kevin attended these events and I have proof of it on the blockchain.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you can see every single bid or transaction that, Kevin's ever did since like the beginning with punks. And by that time, punks are just I can't even imagine like what everyone's gonna think of punks in, 10, 20, 30 years from now. I think it's gonna be absolutely wild.
10 million a punk USD.
10 million. All right. So I want to talk now a little bit about art blocks, generative art. Like, what was your introduction into generative art? Was it through art blocks, or did you have prior, knowledge about generative art?
Yeah,
in the past?
The cool thing about living in San Francisco is we had a bunch of little local galleries and things like that, and so I would always pop into galleries. Like that was a big thing that I did. I collected, traditional art, very inexpensive stuff because I really didn't have the budget. But I've stumbled into some generative type, things that have happened at MoMAs and like all the different things that we had going on in San Francisco. And it never seemed to me that it was obtainable, though. Like there wasn't really, I knew that stuff was all very expensive and I didn't want to have like physical things sitting in my house. It felt very clunky to me. So I had an understanding that it existed. It wasn't until the application of blockchain tech that I was like, oh, this is a way to capture it and keep it. So that was very exciting. Artblocks was the first platform. And I remember just being like, what are these worm things? Like, what the hell is this? And I just remember just being like, this is insane. Like, what are these worms? Like, why is everyone obsessed with these worms? And it was like a very small. And so I met Snowfro and I got a chance to talk to him about that. It was cool that he kind of gave me the full rundown of what was going on. And the first one I want to say that I really started collecting was when Ringers launched. And I remember just being like, these are beautiful. Like, why is no one buying these,
Yeah, there was nobody on Discord at that time also.
Yeah, it was just like, I was like, this is insane. And I remember just like looking at the attributes and being like, well, I should get some of these. Because there were ones with like they had sold, I think they had all sold out, but they were still relatively inexpensive. And there were ones with like the beige background. And so I'm like, well, these are more rare and they're beautiful. Like I'll just collect a few of these. And so I bought some of the beige ones. And, it's again, like I'm not a art critic. Like I just thought this is beautiful and it's not crazy amounts of money. And I want to support this platform and this artist. So let's do it. So it's not about being a good investor. It's right place, right time,
Yeah, definitely. Well, so I know when you were talking about the squiggles earlier on and you were kind of like, all right, well, what is this? Obviously there's what's really cool about art blocks is that, the purchaser has a part in what, the art actually looks like. So, what's your feeling for you to mint something during a drop as opposed to buying something on the secondary market?
That's a good question. I think this has kind of changed over time. Like it's really weird because I also have like this weird, and I don't know how you both feel about this, but like, I like to have things that I are really, like almost like objects around me that I collect and hang on my wall and things that I have in my house. I like to select them, it's like, it's kind of like my curation in some sense.
Yeah.
And there's something exciting about the minting process, no doubt, but you're also like giving up that control. And so as someone that, when I build products on the app side or the website or whatever it may be, the stuff that I built in the past, I always like to have the final say on the way something looks aesthetically and design wise. And that has been a very important piece of my career as a product person, to like define the feature set and functionality and the way something appears. And so it's hard, as silly as this sounds, it's hard for me to click something on the generative side and just be like, well, who knows what it's going to look like. And it's because then it shows up in your wallet and I'm like, does this represent my tastes? Or so it's a lot easier for me to like pick through the aftermarket and be like, oh, I love that looks beautiful. So I've done both. I don't like the gas wars these days. so I don't play that game anymore. But I would say that I can appreciate like well, I shouldn't say that. There was that recent one that came out with the what was the artist that did the clouds on art blocks? The
Oh,
really fluffy
is it
clouds.
the Hemmons? I think it was called.
That's right. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that
those were
was
beautiful.
did those end up selling out? Or are they still available?
Well, they like capped it off. I think there was like a specific date that it ended up, ending, and I think there was like 500, 600, I believe that were minted.
Yeah, so I looked at that and I was like, well, these are beautiful. Like this would
Yeah.
be awesome. It's actually my Twitter background on my profile right now.
Oh,
And
nice.
I just thought like that'd be cool to just mint one of these. And you know, and then I did that and I was really pleased with the results and thought it was awesome. There's certain projects that I would say don't ever really produce a bad result. Like when you're minting a Fidenza, like who's pissed? Like they're all beautiful. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so those types of projects, it's easy to want to just like if it were open, you'd want to mint them. Um, there's others that I look at and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't want to own that piece because it just doesn't like
Speak
vibe
to
with
you.
me. It doesn't speak to me, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I'm giving a really crappy answer. I'm sorry, but
No, no. Well, it sounds like your collecting style has changed, over time. Obviously, like you said, that you like to curate your own, you know, collections over time, and I think that's everyone has just like a different way of doing it.
yeah, I think when you look at like, so if you were to go to my gallery page, like gallery.so/Kevin Rose, everything on there I selected except for a couple of the squiggles because I was lucky enough, the big bold one, and there was one other one that I was because I got to know Snow early on. He was kind enough to mint for me, and those I would never want to sell because they came from Snow. Like how cool is that, right? And
Definitely.
so everything else, I would say I'm trying to look through here. All the art blocks I chose myself. Um, so I want to say that actually, Jeff, I think the one I minted yours was actually generative. I don't think I chose that one.
Was it a color
Um,
studies?
yeah, I know it's a rhythm 198.
Oh, nice.
I also have a color studies. I think down further. But yeah, so I just I like the process of going in and picking the ones that you're really drawn to personally. You know.
Totally. Yeah, I totally understand. Well, do you have a digital screen to kind of showcase any of the artwork that you collect at your house, or?
Not yet. I've been looking at, I've had probably five or so different startups pitch me to raise venture funding to go and build these digital screens, and I haven't found one yet that I'm really fully on board with. A lot of them have these beautiful websites, but who knows when they'll ship.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see.
Do you think how long do you think it'll be before we'll get to a place where there'll be easily customizable screens and we can just go select maybe a circular screen because maybe 720 minutes is like obviously perfect for that. Do you think we're like a year out or more than that?
I think we'll see basic screens with fixed aspect ratios showing up in the next 6 months. I think we'll see some more innovative stuff in a couple years. That'll probably be some of the more flexible LED stuff. Hopefully, that will be able to dynamically change aspect ratios based on what the artwork is. Um, that would be ideal, right? One that would just kind of roll up and kind of reveal as needed depending on the artwork. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Hardware is tough right now, given all of the logistics issues around the supply chain. So there's backups on, I wouldn't. There could be delays,
What are your thoughts on? Do you think there'll ever be a time when in a museum or a gallery space that a screen is going to be dedicated to whoever owns you can only upload something where it's tied to your wallet?
Oh,
Is that
100%.
something? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm excited for is how many places have you walked into, seen like a cool piece of art on the wall, and I just want to be able to walk up and say, actually, I'd like to buy that, and be able to walk out with it. Like there's in San Francisco, there was a great little wine bar called Hotel Biron that where you could go in and they had local artists. It was actually one of the places I was really turned on to a lot of local art. And I bought several pieces that were hanging on the wall there because you could walk in and they'd be like, "Oh, this number," and you take it up to the bar and you're like, "How much is number 27?" And they're like, "Oh, that's $250 or whatever." And you could literally walk out with the art.
Oh,
And
that's really
like
cool.
that needs to exist with digital frames. Like I should be able to walk up and be like, oh, that's really cool. I don't know that local artist, and just be able to take my phone and buy it right there. You know,
That seems kind of
that'll happen.
dangerous though. At a bar though, like are you gonna, I don't
Oh,
know,
it's
have
the
a
best
couple of
place to do
drinks
it.
and then
Best
I
place to
actually
do it.
like the idea of that though. Maybe having some bars, and they have, a gallery space or something. I think that'll look really cool. So I know you were talking about Tezos. Is it important to you that an NFT is on chain, or like how do you feel about IPFS storage versus like on chain NFTs?
Yeah, I mean, Arweave, IPFS, like I think that's great. Um, I don't like. I worry about centralized APIs that you have to ping to get the artwork. Like I think it should be stored in one of these solutions, or both, ideally. And then on chain is impressive. It's technically impressive, and I love that piece of it. So, when you look at creators like Def Beef or Divergence and some of the really cool stuff that they've been able to pull off on chain, it's beautiful.
Mhm.
Code is certainly art, and the fact that they've been able to pull this, some of the technical achievements they've been able to do on Solidity are um, are really impressive. So I do love all the I Ono Autoglyph, because it's a very important piece that
Definitely.
was one of the very first on chain pieces of art. So it's something I pay attention to, but it's not I don't have to have everything completely on chain.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. It's good to have a variety out there. I think some people, it's easier to get into IPFS or just easy. I mean, it's probably less expensive overall also for somebody to like start there and then maybe work their way up.
Yeah, it's certainly, I like to see these new platforms are embracing redundancy. So they'll say, okay, we'll do IPFS and Arweave, and you can always pin your own IPFS files, and so you can ensure that they stay up, which is kind of cool. Like Pinata and some other services out there,
Mhm.
you can say, I want to make sure that this the integrity of this particular file stays online.
Stays around. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think that's awesome. So, given where we're at these days, like, what are your thoughts on traditional auction houses selling NFTs? I feel
Love
like
it.
this is kind of a hot topic. You love
It's
it?
great. Yeah,
Do you
absolutely.
think
There's a lot.
it's needed? Because I feel like
Yes,
okay,
100%. It's needed. I'll tell you why. One, don't underestimate the traditional art world. They're massive, and they have yet to even adopt NFTs, or some of them think of the NFTs as like kind of this dirty, like, it's funny. Like there's all these, if you go back and you look into art history, and you take a look at these major shifts that we've seen, like one of the stories that I just love reading about is this transition to canvas. Do you know that there was a big pushback and blowback when artists moved to canvas? Like there was
man.
like, yeah, there was like this massive, like, it was basically everyone was saying like canvas is shit. You should be painting on wood or on walls where it's permanent. And how dare you make this portable, and like it's gonna get damaged, and it's not permanent. And like there was this big, like, massive rebellion against this shift to canvas.
Oh wow,
And we're seeing the same thing happen in NFTs. It's hilarious. Like these people are saying like, oh, this is an art that's, anyone can right click save as. It's the same thing happening all over again. And so the more we can get traditional art people, which, Sotheby's, Christie's, Phillips, like all the big art houses out there, involved in this world, it educates their user base, which is a lot of old money. And some people can say like, screw it, that's not important. But it's I think that would be a little bit of a laser-eyed kind of move in saying that, like, we want to keep this to us. And I do believe this is an expansive pie, and we should include as many people as possible, both on the artist side and the collector side. And so I want to see that old school collector base hopefully see the light and say like, oh, I get it. Like I will have a digital frame. And um, that amount of capital unlocking for new and up and coming artists is going to be huge.
definitely. Is there anything you would want to build in Web3 right now? Like, what do you think is missing in this space that maybe over the next, let's just say within the next year, we could utilize?
Yeah, I mean, certainly new mechanics to avoid gas fees and the rushing to mint. I think we need to rethink that entire process. Um, Minting passes kind of get us partially there, but there needs to be some kind of forensics around wallet addresses, understanding the kind of figuring out proof of intent, reputation around addresses. There's got to be a better way to address these issues rather than just whitelisting or just hoping that uh, there's better mechanics. I know several entrepreneurs that are working on some really fascinating ways to solve and address these issues that'll be out in the next few months. So I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. I can't share what those are today, but I can tell you that there is a couple. One in particular, just one of the best Solidity engineers that I know, that has shared with me some of their thinking on what this could look like. And it's not a minting pass. It's just something completely different where I'm like, wow, this could be cool. So I'm optimistic that we solve some of these issues, and that's going to be a big one.
Cool. That's great.
I think, the other thing is, how do we, I'm however not optimistic that moving to sharding and kind of proof of work architecture is going to relieve in the short term, it might relieve some of the network congestion on Ethereum. But I think in the long term, when you're talking about going from several 100,000 people to millions of people purchasing and buying NFTs, I don't believe Ethereum is going to scale the way people think it's going to with ETH2. We may get to hundreds of transactions per second, or maybe even thousands, but it's not going to get to where we need to be to really serve 1 billion plus people. So, I need to see solutions that are allowing you to mint on L2 that don't feel cheap. I think a lot of people are using L2s as airdrop mechanics, and not necessarily as a place for permanent storage of valuable NFTs. And rightfully so. They're new, they're untested.
Yeah.
But I believe that hopefully what we'll see is some innovation here that allows us to mint initially on L2s, and then at the discretion of the collector, bring them back and kind of codify them and bring them back to an L1 when they decide it deserves it. So, I could see a world where I mint on an L2, I'm paying nothing in gas, where we don't have the environmental impacts. Not that we will once we move to proof of stake, but then saying, okay, guess what? Fidenza V3 or whatever it may be, I got, and now it's worth enough to where I want to really bring it back to the main chain. And I know there's optimistic rollups and things like that people are probably saying in chat, but I want to figure out a way that is not 10 steps and confusing.
Yeah.
And
It's
it
got
needs
to
to be something
simplify it.
needs to be something the average consumer can interact with. So I think a lot about that stuff, but that's what I want to see built, and what I'd like to fund.
Right on. And kind of piggybacking on top of that, what are your general thoughts on, blockchain and smart contracts in the future and how it will impact us in the day-to-day life? I'm talking about like insurance, home ownership. I feel like there's just going to be so many different ways that people are just going to be using it on a daily basis and not have any idea that they're interacting with, blockchain.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of taking physical world assets and fractionalizing them and splitting up ownership and making it a very dynamic thing is just fascinating to me. Like this idea of like, I was paying insane amounts of money when I lived in San Francisco for rent. This idea that I could walk into a place, have some ownership, gain ownership over time in the form of a token of that underlying asset, that house, and then walk away and sell it to the next person walking in, or have instant liquidity on a marketplace, is just a beautiful thing. And it's something that needs to exist and apply to any massive asset purchase or ownership. Like those models need to be rethought completely. So, I'm excited to explore a lot of that different stuff. And we've even talked about some of these things inside Flamingo DAO, like applying some of this thinking to real world assets as well, like property and other things. So
do you think we're like, do you think this will be like 2022, or is this even further out also?
I mean, we're seeing some of it today. I did a podcast on modern finance with the Bacon coin folks that are really doing. They're taking mortgages and tokenizing them,
Oh,
and
wow.
getting rid of the government and Wells Fargo and the big banks that are have held a monopoly over mortgages forever, and saying
Mhm.
like we can knock off some points here and save consumers money, make it a more seamless, faster process that is not, you know, stacks of paperwork. And then also on the investment side, you know, you can diversify and invest in 100 properties all through a single token that is kind of like a stable coin plus, where you hold a stable coin that gives you yield on top of that that is based on the underlying properties. So it's happening.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I know a lot of us are definitely looking forward to all that. So you recently had your first NFT collaboration with, and I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly. Is it Des Lucrece?
Yeah, yeah,
Does that sound?
that's I mean, everyone's pronounced it differently, so that your pronunciation is as good as mine.
Awesome. Like, how did it feel to help? It was a collaboration piece, but how did it feel to sell a piece of art? And did that selling of the piece of art affect how you view collecting? Does that change it up any means?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was cool. I mean, he reached out and I collected a few of his pieces, and I love his monster series. And he reached out and he's like, "Hey, I'm doing something with a handful of other folks, and you know, our mutual friend Mike Shinoda and a few other people were doing them." And he was like, "Do you want to do one?" And I was like, "Okay, cool." And so I just fired up Procreate and sketched out this little punk rock character, and he took it and animated it and made it fun and kind of crazy and in his classic fashion and style. And you know, it was just a fun little project. And you know, took the proceeds and am donating it to a new project that I'm working on and in the meditation space. So it was a great way to raise a little bit of capital. And it was fun. It was really exciting. Like I I love the creative side of things. Like that's why I built products for so many years. And to kind of just do something fun like this and lightweight was a treat.
Definitely. Is this something that maybe we'll see more future plans for you to do other collabs, or even maybe you're like your own, personal drop?
It's a good question. I'd say I have one big project coming out, hopefully at the end of this year, that is going to be a fun collaboration I'm doing with quite a few artists. And it's going to be a mechanic that I've never seen used on the blockchain, and that really is exciting to me because I've just never seen it done. And so um, that's what I love. I love like new and novel things and just
Mhm.
things that I wouldn't want to do something like a Me Too kind of project. Like let me throw in here and kind of go for a cash grab or something. So in this particular project as well, it's going to be for fundraising, so for other causes. So I'm working on that right now. That is not my art; that is other people's art,
Mhm.
but it's working with other artists in a pretty interesting, kind of exciting way. And then I would say, in terms of me personally, I would never rule out anything, but I would have to do something that I would be really proud of. You know, like
Yeah. You don't want to rush it or anything.
yeah, I mean, I've fired up P5 and I've messed around, and you know, I've studied computer science in school, so I could see myself dabbling in that area. But I have to make sure again, it's like something that it might take me a year or two to to have something that I truly can look at and say, this is new, unique. And it's something that's beautiful. You know, it's something I'd want to hang on my own wall. And I don't know that I creatively I know I have that on the product side, but I don't know that I have that on the artist side. Those are
Yeah.
they're coupled, but they're not exactly transferable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you should definitely take your time. I think that's definitely something that you can appreciate with just building what we're doing right now. Is that you don't need to rush into anything. There's the technology still being built, and over time, I'm sure I hope that you'll drop something and be proud of it. I think that's always great.
Yeah, I've got a buddy of mine that is a fantastic artist, and he's working on a project and that's in the kind of more generative space. And he was like, "What do you think of this? What do you think of that?" And my biggest piece of advice to him was like, listen, dude, like this isn't, you don't need to do this next week. You don't need to do this next
Hmm.
month. like spend and take the time and get it to where you are really, really great. Like you look at it and you're like, this is like just nails it,
Yeah.
because that's the most important thing. Like this stuff's going to be around for a long time.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
going
It's going to
anywhere.
be there forever. So you want to be proud of it. Maybe,
Yeah,
your family, your kids, can definitely look after.
absolutely. For
So,
sure.
so you had 50% of the proceeds from, that collaboration. That's going to be used for a fund for the upcoming Zen meditation project that you talked about. Do you have any details that you can share about that? I know you've worked on a meditation app in the past in 2017 called Oak. Yeah, can you just touch base on that?
Yeah, for sure. So 50% went to the artist. So, obviously want to support him. And the other 50%, my cut of it, is going towards a new project that I'm working on with a Zen Roshi, like the fully Zen teacher
Yeah, yeah,
that works in a lineage of Zen called Sanbo Zen, which is a kind of a lineage of Zen that is for lay people, and it is a beautiful form of Zen that is all forms of Zen kind of originated from Japan, and is still being kind of run out of Japan. And Henry Shookman, who is the teacher, he's been on the Tim Ferriss show now before. You should listen to that episode if you're not familiar with him and kind of what he does. But just really wanted to bring a discipline of Zen that has never been taught, except in actual physical zendos. So you'd have to go to
hmm
a physical location or go to
yeah,
Japan to be taught this, and bring it to an app and really do it in a way that is about creating community and really creating a way for people to experience this form of meditation that just hasn't been done. There's no need for another meditation app. There's plenty of them out there. There's and but there is I think what we're going to see is kind of like there's plenty of meditation apps that are it's kind of this race to like 10-minute meditation, no 5-minute meditation. Like how can
yeah.
you do it the
How
quickest?
fast can you do it? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and I think we're gonna see some people kind of graduate and say, actually, I want to go the other direction, which is how deep can I go, and how can
Mhm.
I really create a practice that is much deeper than 10 or 15 minutes a day, that has the support of a lineage of Zen that has been practiced for hundreds of years, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to bring that to market because no one's
Cool.
done it, and we actually have the blessing from the Zen master out of
That's
Japan to
great.
go and build this. And so it's going to be it's not going to be a massive app. You're not going to see commercials on the radio or on TV about it. It's not going to be venture funded. That's part of the reason why I'm raising money this way, is because we don't want to um, really go mainstream,
Mhm.
because when you raise venture funding for any product out there, you have to hit a certain critical mass. You're going for a venture type outcome, which is $1 billion plus business. And so that this is not that. This is something much smaller, but it's for the people that want to embrace this lifestyle and go this deep. So I'm trying to help out there. My
Yeah,
role is kind of fundraiser, helping on the product side a bit in my spare time, and really helping the CEO and the Zen instructors and teachers. There's over 80 Sambo Zen teachers that are out there around the world, and giving them a platform to really have a voice. So anyway,
that's great.
long rant about something that probably a lot of people on this call don't
No, no, I
care
think
much about, but
it's so important to talk about. I mean, that's what I was kind of leading into, talking about mental health and, obviously meditation, I feel like can definitely play a big part in that. Like, how do you balance not just NFTs, but including NFTs, but how do you balance that? And then, your real day to day, like with family or friends, like how do you balance all of that?
it's it's something I wasn't very good at when I was younger, and then I'm slowly starting to realize the importance of finding that work-life balance and not spending all my time in Discord,
Yeah.
So it's like, how can we figure out how to get step away from the computer for a moment and go for a walk? So there's a bunch of different ways that you can interject those breaks in your day, whether it be going for a walk outside or doing something like getting away to a local sauna place or something that just like gives you a real break, both for your eyes and just for your body as well. But um, Yeah, I mean, I think that when COVID hit, I was really bummed out, and like everyone, you don't see friends for enough time, and you start to feel blue, just a little
Hmm.
under, like, just this is kind of a sad state of the world. And so for me, I decided to double down on meditation. That's when I picked up the Zen practice, a little over a year ago, and it's it's been a big game changer for me because it's given me I flipped from meditation being this nice to have and to this like from finding time for it to making time for it.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference. Like when you make time, you won't skip it. You're absolutely going to make time. And when you find time, it's things can slip and like, "Ah, I didn't have enough time today.
Yeah. Well,
And
especially
so
after you do it for a while, you feel so good, and then if you were to stop for a couple of days, then you just feel like garbage. Or at least that's
yeah,
how I feel.
yeah, and then there's also the prescriptive thing. Like for me,
Hmm.
meditation was always a prescriptive thing. Like I'm not feeling well. I need to get it, and I go and do it for a few days. I'm like, oh, I feel great. Okay, I can stop for a month. And when you can break away from that and create a real durable, lasting practice, it unlocks a bunch of things, including not caring as much about the little things that would normally get under your skin. So
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I highly recommend it to everyone as well. So I want to talk a little bit about Marfa. So you're in Marfa. Well, first off, how was your experience in Marfa?
Oh, fantastic. It was a cute little town. Nice to bump into you guys and everybody else that I bumped into over that weekend. It was, as Jeff pointed out, but kind of before we went on the live, like it was hard in some sense because there were so many people to have a conversation with that you didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with everybody. But it it feels like early South by, to be honest. I
Yeah,
went to some of those early
got
South
those
bys.
vibes.
It's got those vibes. This is gonna be, it was 300 people this time, right? Something like that.
Mhm.
It's gonna be 700 or 1,000 next year if you all
No, that's
continue
too
to do
big.
it.
I don't
You
want it to
know,
get too big too quick, but yeah,
well,
I understand.
there's something awesome about being in Marfa is because like you kind of really have to want to be there
Yeah,
to
definitely.
like make the trek. And there's that barrier to entry there that is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, what do you think is the so obviously our blocks it's so like you said you have to want to be there. It's 3 hours from the closest airport. What's the importance of having a home for generative art, or just in general, like how important is it to like put like that have that I don't know, that physical space, I guess, where people can be like, all right, this is a home for this specific style of art.
I think it's awesome. It is. You couldn't have picked like a better town, obviously with the art roots of Marfa, but also just like the approachability and affordability of that town. Also, right now, this could change obviously in a few years, but
Yeah.
you can go and you can set up shop and have a location and a space there, and it's not going to cost you a ton of money. So I don't know. It's just it's like it feels right. It feels right size for kind of where the project's at and where everything's it's humble and it's just like a perfect little spot. Like I don't know. I loved it. What did you all think?
I mean, I thought it was a sleepy town. I've been there, outside of when they had Chinati weekend, and I mean, it's hard to tell like what's open, when it's open. Are they going to have enough food for everyone? Especially like for a busy weekend when there's 300 plus people, and I mean, I can't imagine like you were saying to have 700,000, maybe even like 5,000 people one day. I think that's just going to be. We're basically gonna have to just create like a festival over there for
Yeah.
art blocks essentially.
That's it. It'll have to be like a Burning Man style thing where
Yeah,
people bring their own food and like until the local economy can support a more infrastructure.
exactly.
Jeff,
So
what did you think of it?
yeah,
I thought it was fantastic. Am I on? I
yeah,
can't tell if
yeah.
I'm on camera. Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I had been there before, same as you, Masood, like earlier without anything going on, and I enjoyed that too. So yeah, I was really happy with how the exhibition came together in the house. I kind of, orchestrated that sort of from afar, but had some great people in town to actually make it happen. So that was when I first showed up and walked through that. That was like, oh, this looks so great. You guys did so good. Like I was so
Yeah.
excited about that. But yeah, and I think yeah, the kind of there's like an energy there from the Chinati Foundation and kind of what Donald Judd put together, and I feel like we resonate with that really well there. So
And I think
What
it'll
was it?
be. Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was just gonna say, I'm curious, Jeff, what was it like for you to meet some of your collectors? Like, I'm assuming you
Yeah.
bumped into people that had collected your pieces, and was that just a really cool experience?
yeah, it was, and I had actually done that a couple of times before now because I've done the exhibitions at Bright Moments in Venice, and then at I'm Not Art in Chicago, and so yeah, it was kind of had been a sequence of things over the last month or two where yeah, I'm meeting people literally have to come up to you and be like, "Oh, I'm such and so on Discord." Like, "Oh, hey, nice to meet
Yeah.
you." Like,
Isn't
I
it
wanted to
weird? Yeah,
do
it's
this.
like
It's so.
Yeah,
I would look at name tags and I'd be like, okay, and then you see like their at handle. I'm like, actually, I probably know you by your handle, and then you guys like look and see
yeah,
what their handle is.
exactly. But yeah, no, it's great. I mean, and that's been like it's such a it's it floors me just as an artist, like the reception that I've received since kind of joining the sort of and I'm not saying it like to my own harm, just the amount of like excitement and love and affection there is just generally for like what's
Mhm.
happening. And then when you meet people that are so jazzed about what you're doing, like it really just like gasses you up. You're like, oh yeah, this is I'm doing something right here. I'm gonna keep on, you know. So
I
Yeah.
think it'll be really cool also once, we have some artists there. They'll do like a residency. They'll kind of stay there
Oh,
for, a
100%.
couple weeks or a couple months and then kind of just like have that time and space. I feel like that's such a cool area to kind of get creative and be inspired by all these other, gallery spaces in Marfa. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to be cooked up, over the next several years. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm
So
excited.
yeah, I've been describing the house as the Art Blocks laboratory. I think
there
that's
you
the
go.
best way to like think about what we're doing there. We're gonna like it's where we're gonna figure things out.
Exactly.
You know how we interface with the real world.
I gotta say that food out there was fantastic. Those burgers, those backyard burgers they had at Art
Yeah.
Block's
The
house,
smash
those were
burgers.
killer.
Yeah.
I hadn't had a burger that good in a while. I was like,
That's
damn, I need to come out here more often. It's amazing.
So I wanted to talk to you, Kevin, about like your NFTs and holding them long term. Are there any NFTs that you own which you plan to pass down to your kids? And if so, like which ones would those be?
It's an amazing question. I've had my girls love X copy. They have expensive
Oh, that's
taste.
awesome. Yeah, that's
Um,
very expensive.
but they call them Scully guys. So they're like, oh, let me see that Scully guy. Like they just like they love skulls, which I think is awesome for a couple little girls, a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And they look at the skulls and they just think that the coolest thing, especially during Halloween and everything. They just like think skulls are awesome. So and then they love the CryptoPunks, and I haven't thought of any passing down though. That's like a crazy question. I don't know I'm ready to think about yet.
Yeah. I think it's
I
too early, probably, right?
yeah, I mean it is yeah, I'm just looking through scrolling through it now. It's a good question. I don't know. There's a lot of ones here that are just so cool. I could never see myself parting with some of these for sure. Like there's certain ones I don't think I would ever sell.
Well, maybe as your collection grows, then that maybe it'll be a little bit easier to potentially. Well, I'm sure your kids will want to, like you said, they pointed out X copy. Maybe they'll have some less expensive taste where it might be a little bit easier to pass down to them.
Yeah, for sure. It's probably gonna have to be a current mint or something. It will be
Yeah,
something that's like that's in this collection because I think these are I think it's early. It's still such early days for all these projects. These early art blocks projects are just gonna be I mean, I know we're doing this, and I'll say it because it's controversial and it'll sound good for this type of show. But I believe that Squiggles are going to be worth a shit ton of money. I'm sorry, like I believe that being Project Zero and Art Blocks, I think Squigs are going to be $1 million floor at some point.
yeah.
Um, I
No,
I'm I don't want to call it early, but like I feel that these a decade from now, people will look back and be like, okay, generative art huge, massive category. It's here to stay. It's blown up. What kicked this off? And people will look back and say Art Blocks, early projects, early curated, and Project Zero. I mean, and they're so when you get the bitten by the squig, there's like no going back. Like it's hard to go back on. So
especially when things.
I can't see what Chad is saying. I don't know if Chad's agreeing with me or not. I see like
well, I'm sure the people who have a squiggle, then they're like, yeah, of course. But maybe if they don't, then they'll kind of like push back on that.
What are they saying on chat? Are they saying yes or no?
Yeah,
or...
they're definitely saying yeah. A lot of them are saying yes, absolutely.
I see a rocket ship there, so that looks good to me.
Yeah, lots of rocket ships and some smiley faces and a bunch of squiggles for sure.
Sweet.
So, well, I just wanted to thank you so much for being on tonight. Before we kind of wrap it up, where can listeners check out both of your podcasts, Proof and Modern Finance?
Yeah, so just Modern Finance XYZ, and that's the one that is focused on a lot of the DeFi and layer 1, layer 2 scaling stuff. We've got some really fun guests coming up on that show. And then I decided to carve out and create Proof for just all of the NFTs because there was just so much stuff. Yeah, and I wanted to have some like more kind of intimate conversations with up and coming artists and stuff. And like for a main podcast feed, like people would be like, oh, if they're not into NFTs, they'd be like, who is this? Why are they on the show? So
it's good to separate.
I carved out, proof.xyz is the place to go for all of the artist interviews. And I've got some great artist interviews coming up. Just to drop a couple, Elida Sun, who did
nice
Glitch Crystal Monsters. She's fantastic. Had her on the show already, recorded that episode. That was great. John with all the J's. Do you know that John? Yeah, he's amazing. Had him on the show already. That's coming up here soon. So I got to get Jeff on the show here soon. I'm going to talk to him about that.
Jeff's reaction was like, "Wait, me?"
That would be fantastic.
I'd love to, of course. I did Big Eyes, and I was like, yes.
I love it.
Got to make that happen. And yeah, I mean, obviously, Panyo, I'd love to have you on too, man. You've got a great background and story to tell as well. I mean, that's the cool thing about Proof is like, let's just get some great people on there and just talk about what they're excited about, what they're passionate about. And it could be artists, it could be collectors. It just have some fun. It's kind of like what you're doing here with the After Dinner Mints. It's like just casual conversations, just talking to good people,
Awesome. And then Kevin, where can people follow you on social media?
At Kevin Rose on Twitter, crypto Twitter. My current avatar is an obit, and I change that every few weeks. I've had squiggles in the past. I've had ringers. I've had fidenzas. I've had all kinds of things. It's always fun to swap out your little profile photo. You know.
I agree totally. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us on After Dinner Mints. I want to move it over now to the Squiggle giveaway. It's going to be a little bit different today, Eric, since Snowfro's not on. We won't be minting it this evening, but we'll obviously go through the trivia. And just to give my spiel, I will post a link shortly that will lead you to 4 trivia questions. Most answers can be found on the community-driven ArtBlocks wiki page, which is artblocks.wiki. So I'll drop that right now. I'll drop it a couple times in case the feed's going crazy. Oh, yeah, I'll just post it a couple more. So you'll have 3 minutes to answer all 4 questions correctly, and for those who get all answers correct within that time frame, their names will be put into a number generator, and one person will be the winner of a brand new Squiggle, which will, it's awesome. Yep.
There's 2 entries. What are the questions? Can you say what the questions are?
Yeah, definitely. Here, let me pull them up right here. I kind of tailor them to, some of it will be on basically the ArtBlocks wiki site, and then whoever's my guest, because I want to make sure, because we were kind of dealing with bots. I used to have just basically you click on an emoji and they're like, oh, you're entered, but then we ended up getting like, I think several hundred, and I was like, it seems kind of sketchy. So we decided to do kind of a trivia where people had to kind of pay attention a little bit to the podcast, and then also just navigate some of the artblocks.wiki page, which is a community-driven website. D. Bachman, Null Flicker, man, I'm missing a bunch of names, but they've kind of helped put this together. It's
it's fantastic.
It's a great resource.
Yeah, that's where I get all my Squiggle data from.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
So what are the questions?
So first question is, Kevin Rose is the host of these 2 podcasts, and
okay,
can I enter
this?
Where's yeah. Here, I'll just.
I'm not going to take any entries away from other people. I have a few squigs, so I'm good. I
Here,
don't
I'll
want
send it
to.
to you.
That would be, how shitty would that be if I won? That'd be horrible.
I mean, it's happened before actually, where the guest Druid, who's watching, actually won. I think it was last week. No, it was 2 weeks ago, and it was crazy to just get his reaction on it, because I was like, wait, it's like Druid actually won.
Yeah,
It was
I couldn't do that. But what's the second question? I'm curious.
All right. So second question is, so these are the rest of the questions, I think, are going to be based towards Artblock's wiki page. So this one is, the project Sentience was created by which artist? And it's basically a list of 4 artists, and you have to obviously select the correct one. Next one is,
I know that one.
Hyperhash by Beer Van Geer was released on what date? And that's like a question is obviously no one's going to know right off the bat, so you have to go to that artblocks.wiki page. So I think I know the answer to that. Yeah. And then
Cool.
And then the last one
152 entries. Come on, people. You got 34 seconds.
Yeah. And then the last one is, what are the names of both projects released by Golid? And then, there's always selection of, you have to get his, curated and playground project correct.
That's awesome.
We got about, we have 182. Is that correct?
182.
100, damn. All right. So we
okay, you have 10 seconds left, people.
Yeah.
Go. 192. Submit. Even if you don't know, you got to click it now.
Yeah, just click anything. You got 3 seconds.
3,
2, 1.
Oh,
right.
192. Locked in.
So 203. Are you going to
203?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on. We're going to, Luke has to manually update that little part right there. Perfect. All right. And so basically, now that we have 203 people, Luke's going to fire up the
These are great
robot.
odds, by the way. This is like a...
Yeah. Oh, it's gotten, I mean, when we first did this, I think there was like 20, 30 people when we just had it on, Discord audio channel. It was nuts. All right. So, yep. We'll see what happens.
And do we actually get to see what the mint is? Oh, we can't, right? Because not around.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't do it today. But all right, so it'll be number 61.
Who was that?
And so we'll scroll down, and I'll have Luke kind of tell me who's the winner, and we'll announce it. I'll just type it in the Discord as well. Haas the Hustler. Okay. Luke will type that in. Looks like Haas the Hustler. Congratulations.
Are they going crazy on Discord right now?
Now people are starting to type in, because there's actually a 10-second delay. So when we're getting excited, then maybe it's not like showcasing it on Discord right now. But Haas the Hustler, feel free to DM your wallet to myself, your address, and I'll send that to Snowfro later on, and hopefully we'll either mint that tonight or tomorrow for a brand new Squiggle. So congratulations to Haas the Hustler.
So one Squiggle logistics question.
Yeah.
How many we got left? How many are left to mint?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it's like, there's 700, 800.
Yeah, I was going to say like 800.
Yeah.
800
I think we're in like 9200s right now, I think.
Yeah,
okay.
That sounds about right. So,
all right, so there's quite a few.
Yeah, there's still quite a few. We'll have to do 800 more episodes of After Dinner Mints in order to unload them. Then that's what it's going to take. Whatever it is. So that was 9217 that will be minted for tonight's. So congratulations to Haas the Hustler. Jeff, do you have any news or notes that you want to share? I know you kind of posted something about curation. I don't know if you have any update on that, or if you want to talk about anything else.
Yeah, sure. I can just kind of reiterate that announcement. So I've been seeing a lot of chatter in Discord, when curated dead, whatever. So I thought I should probably give an update. So yeah, it's been quiet for a while, but sort of by design. We've just sort of decided to, instead of focusing on a schedule, we've just decided to focus on the projects, and we're just going to work with the artists in a comfortable timeline and get them out when they're ready to get put out. And so we've slowed down purposely a little bit. And we've also just decided we're not going to announce or schedule anything until a project's 100% ready for deployment, just so that we don't have to scramble or reschedule if things kind of break apart towards the end. So, but having said that, we currently have 3 projects that are in curated status, and we're
Oh,
just
wow.
literally just getting them to getting them to the finish line for deployment. So as soon as that first one of those gets to that point, we will announce it and share it with everybody. And we're really super excited about these projects and these artists. It's really awesome stuff. But yeah, we're staying tight-lipped for now, staying quiet until that first one's like absolutely ready, and then we'll probably see a sequence of 3 in a row in pretty good succession from there. So
Okay, excellent. Well,
and then I guess another update.
Yeah.
It's kind of official now. So I saw somebody in the chat ask about this tonight. Art Basel, Miami Beach. So we are going to be working with ArtX Code, supporting their exhibition. So Art Week in Miami runs like December 2nd to the 5th or something like that. And our support, it's gonna be a generative art show and generative art NFT exhibition in Miami that during that week, the Art Fair week. And Artblocks is primarily supporting the Friday of that event. We're basically making it so it's free admission or open public viewing for the event. So other parts of it will be ticketed and require, you know, advanced tickets and that sort of thing. You may still need free tickets for Friday. We haven't really sorted that out, but so we're sort of sponsoring like a day where it's open for everybody to come and experience the exhibit. And there'll be a lot of Artblocks works, obviously, on display.
Cool.
So.
Very excited for that. That's coming up in December, which will be here before you know it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
On next week's show, which is Wednesday, November the 3rd, it'll be at the same time, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to have Taylor Smith, who is the philanthropy advisor from GiveWell, and then I'm going to have Jason Waters, who is the CFO of Give Directly. So next week will be a little bit more of a giving back, like philanthropy, kind of learning about where some of these artists have been, you know, donating to, and it'll just be really nice to kind of highlight, you know, the giving part of what's being done at Artblocks, and then also in the broader like NFT space. With that being said, thank you to Kevin Rose and Jeff Davis for joining me on After Dinner Mints. I really, really appreciate it and had a fantastic time with this conversation. For everyone tuning in, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe to the Artblocks YouTube channel. Be kind to each other, buy what you love, set up a hardware wallet. If not before, set it up now. And we will see you all next week.
Thanks,
Hope you have a
everyone.
good night.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks everybody.
Jeff.
Good night. Thank you.